Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the final episode of Evolutions is out, and this one is titled The Discovery. We're back into looking at the events of the story through the eyes of a rival, and this one follows Green, as we learn another perspective on what happened when the player character went to capture Mewtwo in Pokemon Let's Go. Right off the bat, I'm glad we're getting Let's Go instead of Red and Blue. We've seen the Red and Blue story a million times. It's even got its own special called Pokemon Origins. But technically this also means this is another Generation 7 anime instead of Generation 1. Regardless, this time we're following Green, who has a complicated history with the series. I'm not going to go into it here, but suffice it to say she's called Green here, Blue in Japan, it's all weird. But I will say her introduction to Let's Go was unexpected, but a welcome turn of events. In this case, we find out how she gets to Mewtwo just after we the player characters capture Mewtwo. The dynamic in this episode isn't made from the chase between Green and the player character, who in this case is Elaine, well, at least not in the beginning at least. Instead, it comes from the dynamic chase between Trace and Green. Once she dispatches the trainers in Nugget Bridge in one fell swoop, she comes across Trace, who saves her from a bunch of Zubats but is also after Mewtwo. After meeting each other, they race each other to make it to Mewtwo first, and this is a really fun chase sequence as Green manages to get past a Graveler and take care of wild Polyrats while riding on a Blastoise, which is pretty cool. As they continue through a cave, they come across a cliff edge. Trace decides to fly through it with his Pidgeot, but Green uses her Weepinbell's Vine and swings like Tarzan to get across before saving Trace from Zubats like he did earlier. However, once she gets to where Mewtwo is supposed to be, she doesn't see it. Instead, we see our player character Elaine, and unlike the other player characters in the series so far, she actually gets a chance to have a personality here. She's goofy but strong, and after seeing that she was able to capture Mewtwo, Green challenges her to a battle. The battle here isn't very long, but we get to see Pikachu fighting Clefable and Ninetales beating Rapidash before Green brings out her Mega Blastoise and Elaine brings out Mewtwo. As you would imagine, the battle isn't really close. Mewtwo wipes the floor with her Mega Blastoise, however, Green's content with the battle, and she heads back to the professor's lab as she also gives Elaine 2 more Mega Stones. There, she finds out that while she did fail to capture Mewtwo, she wasn't the only one working to complete the Pokédex. Instead, so were Trace and Elaine. As he's talking about the completion of the Pokédex, Oak gets a call and finds out about Meltan and Melmetal, 2 new Pokemon, before our heroes head out together before he could even finish asking them to capture it. The episode ends with Pikachu grabbing a flower to give to presumably Green, a similar moment to the one that happens in the game after you beat the Elite Four. This one is the most personality-packed episode so far. This one felt the most anime, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. There are great facial reactions, great animation, and great remixes of the music like the cave music, but also both rivals of Let's Go are given time to shine. Trace at the beginning and then Green in the middle, and like I said, unlike the other episodes besides the Hoenn one, the main player character also gets a lot of personality here, which is a massive bonus for me. This one's just a feel-good episode, and I think anyone who watches it will enjoy it. If you haven't already, check it out. It's one of the best. Since this is presumably the final episode, I should give my thoughts on the series as a whole. I don't think this is as good as Generations, but I also think this was meant to be a smaller series in scope. It can be a bit difficult telling the stories of the game through the rival's perspective because, well, the story was never meant to be seen that way. However, for almost all the episodes, I think they did a good job of trying to give at least some perspective from the rival's point of view. There are episodes where it's done better than others, but overall I think the story does keep a good balance throughout. There are moments where I wish that we got to be a little bit more in the character's psyche. Some of my favorite episodes are the one where we get to learn a bit more about things like Leon being torn up after not being able to defeat Eternatus, or Ghetsis laying his plan out in plain dialogue, or even Zinnia's reaction to May being the one Rayquaza chose. Those were great moments that really elevated the series because it gave us a fresh perspective on moments we knew about from the game but never got to see from the other side. There are also awesomely animated moments here. Mainly some of the battle sequences like Necrozma vs Lunala or N vs Alder, but also non-battle sequences like the storytelling in the Sky Tower or the theater in Ecruteak City, or even this episode with its fantastically animated chase sequence in the water. The animation in most of these episodes are great, and that's also partially because of the art style. It's strange, the art style early on had a standard triangle face shonen style. And that worked more in certain episodes than the other, really depending on the animation. However, the art style did seem to shift in the latter half of the series to be a bit more rounded like in this last 3 episodes. But I also think it's because the early generations really don't fit with that type of shonen art style. Either way, I'm glad we got to see a different art style in this series than we do in the animes. In terms of music, I think I like the Alola episode the best, simply because the Alola music is so distinct, and even when remixing it, they kept it pretty close to the spirit of the game. The other episodes have fantastic music as well, but sometimes it just doesn't fit. Like in this episode when we start off, Green gets the cave music theme while she's in Cerulean, or sometimes the remix while there just feels so different that it's hard to tell it's there, like in the Sinnoh episodes. However, overall, I think the music design in this series was amazing too. If I had to rank the series, like I said, I don't think it's as good as Generations, but I think it's much better than Origins. It's a fun series that I'll probably come back to in the future for a few of these episodes. A thumbs up from me overall. But anyways, that is it for my review of episode 8 of the Evolutions anime. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe. In the comments, let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can follow me on Twitter at @PdGaming, and that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.